All right, today we're jumping into a really personal puzzle, something so many of us have felt. It's that feeling that your love life is a movie you've already seen, and you know for a fact you hate the ending. So, let's pull back the curtain and see what's really happening. You've been there, right? It's maddening. You meet someone new, everything feels fresh, exciting, and then, somehow, you're right back in that same old painful spot. You start to wonder, am I cursed? Am I just terrible at this? But what if the reason has nothing to do with luck or your ability to choose? What if it's something deeper, something you can't even see?
And this idea right here gets to the absolute heart of it. We're looking at the work of psychotherapist Juha Klaavu today, and he says this isn't just bad luck. It's a powerful subconscious drive. Your brain isn't just looking for a partner, it's trying to go back in time and fix an old story, to finally get a kind of love it feels it never got.
So, let's start by just saying, if you feel like you're stuck in this loop, you are not crazy. You're not alone, and you're definitely not imagining it. There's a very real reason it feels like you're living the same story over and over again. This is really the core of it, isn't it? It feels like you've been cast as the main character in a play, but nobody gave you the script, and yet the plot is painfully familiar. The same arguments, that same feeling of being invisible or misunderstood, and of course, the same heartbreaking final scene. And it just leaves you wondering, what is wrong with me?
And this is why finding a framework for this, a name for the problem, can feel like such a massive relief. It's what Klaavu's work offers. It's this incredible shift from blaming yourself, from thinking I'm flawed, to understanding, oh, I'm just caught in a pattern. That realization alone is a huge first step toward compassion for yourself.
Okay, so what is this pattern? Let's unmask the real culprit here. And I'll tell you, it's probably not what you think. We're talking about a very specific kind of wound, one that doesn't happen all at once, but slowly, quietly, right in the middle of our earliest, most important relationships.
And here's the crucial difference. When we hear the word trauma, our minds usually go to event trauma, a car accident, a natural disaster, some kind of big, singular shock to the system. But developmental trauma, that's different. It's not a shock. It's a slow burn. It's a wound to our very sense of who we are that gets formed over a long, long time.
This happens when a child's needs for unconditional love and emotional connection just aren't met. And look, this doesn't mean your parents were evil. It can be incredibly subtle. Maybe they were just too caught up in their own stuff to really see you. But as a kid, you can't understand that. You just internalize it. You come to the logical conclusion, there must be something wrong with me. I must be unlovable.
Now, in a healthy environment, what gets to grow is what Klaavu calls the true self. This is the real you, your authentic center. It's the part that's connected to your real feelings, that knows your worth without question, that can say no and not feel guilty. It's you at your core.
But when that true self has to go into hiding for us to survive childhood, we create these coping strategies instead. Klaavu calls them chaotic self-states. Just think of them as a cast of characters we invent to get by. You've got the people pleaser, the rebel, the victim, the performer, and these are the actors who show up and take over the stage in our adult relationships.
So, now we can connect the dots. Let's look at how this all comes together to create that relationship replay. This is exactly where those childhood actors, our chaotic self-states, grab the spotlight in our search for love. This is why our choices in partners can feel so baffling. We think we're choosing with our adult, conscious mind, but really, our unconscious is the casting director. And it's not looking for someone healthy. It's looking for someone who can play the other role in that familiar, old childhood script.
I absolutely love this metaphor, the lock and key. It explains that magnetic, almost faded feeling of attraction so perfectly. It's not just that you're drawn to them. They are just as drawn to you. Your unconscious wounds just click together. They form what Klaavu calls a chaotic pair. And just like that, the stage is set for the old play to begin again.
And in these chaotic pairs, two main roles tend to emerge. There's the victim state. That's the one who adapts, who tries to earn love, who submits. And then there's the subjugator state, the one who controls and devalues. But here's the wild part. These aren't fixed. You have both inside of you, and in a conflict, partners can actually switch back and forth between these roles.
So this creates a cycle that is incredibly predictable and, yeah, destructive. First, you get that intense lock-and-key attraction. Then comes the high, this period of idealization where you finally feel complete. But then, as life gets real, that old childhood script gets activated and you both fall into your assigned roles. And this leads to those perpetual motion arguments, fights that just go in circles, forever, resolving nothing. And this is exactly why those fights are so frustratingly impossible to win. Because you're not actually fighting about the dishes or who was late, you're reenacting a much deeper drama. It's the rage of a child directed at a partner who can never, ever give you what you're really crying out for. Because, well, they're not your parent.
So, how do you get off this merry-go-round? Here's the good news. You can. You really, truly can. And very often, the biggest opportunity for change comes from the most painful part of all, the breakup. A breakup is so agonizing because it lights up all those old wounds of abandonment and not being good enough. But right in the middle of that raw pain, there is a moment of pure clarity. The invisible script is suddenly visible. For the first time, you can actually see the play you've been forced to act in your whole life. It's not a failure, it's an awakening.
So where do you start? Step 1 is just awareness. Stop blaming your ex, stop blaming yourself, and just become an observer. Look at your past relationships. What's the common theme? Then get really honest about your relationship with your parents or caregivers. And crucially, you have to accept that a partner, no matter how loving, cannot be your therapist. Healing these deep wounds pretty much always requires an objective, outside perspective.
And this is so important to remember. Recognizing the pattern, that's the key that unlocks the door. It's how you get your power back. But it's not the end of the road. As Klaavu says, it's only the first step. Real, lasting change comes from continuing to do the work of healing that original wound and finally reconnecting with your true self.
And that really leaves us with a final thought to chew on. We spend so much of our lives searching for the one, but what if the whole quest is framed wrong? What if the key to a healthy relationship isn't finding the right person to complete your story, but finally finding your own true self so that you can write a completely new one?